Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. I am Tanya E. Hood, a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, it simply means I've worn a lot of different hats in my life that have helped me develop a full range of strategies and actionable steps that I've used to help my clients make a strategic impact, both personally and professionally, to have better than what life has been giving them. Red Alert Diaries is based on the life lessons from my premier book, Red Alert. Is He the One? The pocket guide defining the love of your life. Now, for those of you that have read my book, you already know that I got married at 21. And after 11 years of marriage, I found myself going through a divorce, having to raise my two sons alone. To reset my life and survive my divorce, I took the time I needed to get to know me better, which opened me up to new love again. And so today we have a special guest on Red Alert Diaries. For those of you that are not seeing this live in video on YouTube, my husband Eric is joining us today. And if you want to have comments about this show, you can call 240-532-2227. That's 240-532-2227. Because today I'm going to let you all in on how our relationship really began. I've had a few people that have asked, tell us your love story. Well, our love story started in friendship.
Absolutely.
So we're going to give you a little more insight because for those individuals that are trying to figure out how to do this thing called life after divorce, it starts with you knowing who you are. And I talk a lot about that. But today, I want to talk about what happens when you start that relationship. So we're going to share how we started and our friendship. How did it grow?
This should be fun.
Well, you already know that when two different individuals impact a situation, there's always her view, his view, and then reality. Well, from my perspective, you all have heard this part before. And for those of you that have the book, this is chapter 3. He is the mentor. So I was not looking for a relationship. I didn't want to find him. I wasn't looking for him. I wasn't trying to be bothered. So friendship was not even going to be a glimpse in my mind.
So she thought.
What I did is what I tell all of you to do. Focus on getting you better. The more you are able to gain clarity of who you are, it will position you for whatever relationship comes up next. Relationships, I share with you often, having a better relationship with yourself gives you the ability to have a better relationship with others. And if you want to make certain that you get the glue that keeps all of that together, that is where you have a better relationship with a being greater than yourself. And so that's pretty much what we talk about on this podcast. But Eric.
Yes.
Share your perspective of the beginning.
So you want my perspective before your perspective when my perspective is the correct one. I just want to make sure that I got that right.
No, wait. It's not the correct one. It's just your perspective. So
okay, I'm gonna let your audience judge for themselves.
So y'all are gonna have to call in because we have had this debate going. We have been married now for a decade, going on 11 years, y'all.
It's closer years. To 11 than a decade.
Okay, for 11 years.
I remember the date.
So I was working on being me. You read this chapter where I was sharing that I needed to focus on getting myself to a better position. I was looking at Proverbs 31. That description of what that woman was doing helped me gain some insight about what to do next, because you often need a blueprint when you're trying to reset. Because I've shared with you all before, I lost me in the aftermath of my divorce, and I had to take the time to do some small things. Walking through Proverbs 31 was a part of the small things. I wasn't looking for him. I was focusing on my business, focusing on getting my kids together. So when he entered, it was just me working with my mentor to get my business going.
I guess this is where I come in to tell you guys the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Anyway, we were in business, and because of the level and my lifestyle at that time, I was in and out of the business. So I wasn't aware when Tanya actually joined the company. But that one fateful day when I walked into the office and I saw her, I was kind of floored. I was like, whoa. And so I went to my god brother who ran the office and asked him who she was. And he told me based on the description I gave him. And I was like, okay. So to be honest, from that moment on, I was being very strategic. I was watching for her to see what time she came into the office, where she sat. And I noticed that she was a little tardy every once in a while. So I made it a case to just make sure there was an empty seat next to me at all times. I would lay all of my books and things on the seat so nobody would dare come and try to sit there. And when I would see her come in or whatever, I would just politely slide my things out of the way. Oh, here's a seat here. And so I was very strategic. And, it came a point where we wanted different management groups in this organization. And my brother said to me, he said, Tanya's pretty sharp. And I don't think she's getting the best training under the organization that she's with. So I want you to train her personally for me to make sure she gets all she needs. And I was like, yes. So we started as mentee and mentor. And through that of teaching Tanya things, I noticed how sharp she was. And we developed a friendship. We became spiritual buddies. And I would share scriptures with her. She would share scriptures with me. We were sounding boards for one another. And it just began as a nice little friendship. But that friendship grew and grew and grew, and somebody started to get feelings.
So let's pause because we need to be clear. Friendship is one of the first foundational pieces to a relationship. And we were friends for years. It wasn't just, I grew into the part. So it took what I think it was 5 years of just being just good friends.
Very good.
I wasn't looking for anything. He wasn't looking for anything. What he started doing is what I often let individuals know is what you should start doing when you begin a relationship. Just look out for the other person's best interests. My focus was on my business. So he focused on my business with me, gave me insight about what I needed to do to be more strategic with the business structure, more effective with my time. So that's where the more engaged moments of friendship came in, because I had 2 children, you all know. I was raising the boys alone. And so I needed to figure out how to balance work and life, just being a single mother. That alone was a difficult task. And because I did not have the consistent financial means, because you all have heard the struggles that I went through financially after my divorce to reset, I had to figure out how to contend with that as well. Because when you're not stable financially, it makes it difficult sometimes to focus on other elements. So he was a great sounding board for what I needed to say in business, how I needed to manage my time, little small tidbits, because there's something that you may know that can help that other person. Just be a help. So talk more about that part.
Just naturally who I am, I like to help. I've been a mentor for over 33 years now, and helping is just what I do. And when I saw how sharp she was, and the fact that my brother brought it to my attention of how sharp she was, and he didn't want her sharpness to be wasted, I took that personally. And so I just went about just doing what I do, making sure she got every I dotted, every T crossed. And in part of that, being a Christian man, I had to share scriptures with her, because as God led me to believe and do certain things, I would share it with her, because she had become my best friend. Well, she had become my friend, and then led to her being my best friend. And so being a good friend, you share everything that's good and positive. And so I would share scriptures with her, because God is the center of my life. So there's no way that she could be my friend and me mentor her and I not share those experiences also. And so then I found out that she was a Christian, and she would share scriptures with me and I with her. And so we had a good time learning the business, growing our businesses, and sharing God's word and the love of God and the God's love for us all at the same time. So that was like a win-win-win. So that's pretty much how that went.
So that's why I share with you all, when you have a better relationship with yourself, it helps you to have a better relationship with others. And that glue that makes it work well is having a better relationship with a being greater than yourself. See, both of us are natural helpers. We are both natural supporters. It's the gifting that God put into both of us. All you have to do is just be you. You don't have to try to figure out how to do all these various things, because the dating world in this day and age is horrible. I didn't like it the first time around when I was in my 20s. And to find myself having to go back through the process in my 30s was disheartening. And I've shared this story for those of you that have the book. Chapter 4 gives you the breakdown on what to do with the patterns of dating. horrible. So while we were being friends in that 5 to 6 year period, took us a while before we got married, but 5 to 6 year periods of just being friends, we were just being us, just focusing on how can I be the best support system for you. When you are a friend, you want to help your friend. You want to be there for your friend. And that is where it starts. I don't want any of you to keep trying to walk down the path of creating relationships without first building friendships. So talk a little bit more about what were the commonalities about friendship that really drew you, tugged you, let you know that I was a good friend, and talk about that part.
Well, first of all, we were both Christians, and that's very important for me because we're not going to really, really fully get along unless we're both on the same page with that part, because that's the way I live my life. And just because I've known and been a good friend all my life to others, I know what a good friend does. I try my best to be there for you at all times. I would listen to you and not just listen, not just hear you, but I listened intently to understand where your heart was coming from. And if I had some good advice to share with you, I felt that I had an obligation to, because you were my friend, you were a good person, and you were raising two boys. I've been a boy all my life. In fact, I'm one of them Toys R Us kids. I'm never going to grow up. I'm a grown man, but I'm still a boy. And I know what it's like, you know. And so I shared some things with Tanya. She would share with me about her sons, and the younger one, especially, I kind of had a thing for, because she told me he had a special need, and he had a special something that he liked that I liked too, which was cars. And so I would buy cars and say, find a reason to give these to your son. Don't tell him that I gave them to him. Just find a reason to reward him with these cars, because I felt an attachment with this young man. And so Tanya would always be there for me also. You know, if I needed a word, or if by chance I would ever say something and let her believe that I wasn't totally positive that day, she would give me a positive word, and we just fed each other's spirits back and forth like that with positivity. There was never anything negative. If there was something that I had experienced in life that Tanya had yet to discover, I would be glad to share that with her. And then she would, look at it and say, well, I don't know about that. So I'd explain it a little further until she got a full grasp of it. So it was back and forth, feeding each other. Both of us were gaining in the relationship. And if you think about it, there are things that you will tell your friends, especially your good friends, that you won't tell anybody else. So it's very important that you identify those good friends when they come along, and you nurture those relationships. Also, and I heard Tanya mention this a second ago, she said she was being herself. It's very important to be yourself. And I've learned this, and I've shared this with a lot of people. There will always be people who don't like you. There will always be people who don't care for you, but there will also be those who will love you for the genuine you. And that's the best you can do, is be yourself. Don't go changing for somebody else. If they don't like you the way you are, as I tell the kids that I coach, it's a 4-letter word that I approve of. It's next, NEXT. You move on, you keep it going, because there's some people out there that would really, really appreciate you for who you are. Don't go changing yourself to try to please anybody. God made you the way he made you. You can grow in knowledge and health and all of that stuff, but don't change who God made. He didn't make any junk. He made everything perfect in his image, and you are fine and wonderful and fantabulous. Yes, I said fantabulous, just the way that you are. Accept that, be okay with who you are, and then just keep being a good person, and you're going to find that good friend out there. You don't need a whole bunch of them. I don't have a whole bunch of good friends. I have a couple, a lot of associates, but Tanya became my best friend.
And that's the next part. When you're growing into relationship, being your authentic self, because your authentic self is going to show up. Just be you. That way you are clear if the person that you're with really likes you for you, because you all know, I've shared with you before, that I'm a logical, analytical individual, and I ask a lot of questions. That is a part of who I am. But in doing so, that was a detriment in my first marriage. He struggled with the questions that I asked because he had a different thought process that it was something wrong. It's just how I gather data. It's how I think. It's how I function. It puts me into the best possible position to be a better friend to those that are around me. And so I'm glad that Eric shared that the commonality piece that kept us going, the glue that puts it all together, is God. And that's how we knew where to transition our friendship. Because I share with you all in chapter 1. And by the way, for those of you that don't really have the book, I give chapter 1 away for free, because I want you to have something that you can take away. So if you need to get chapter 1, because this information is in there, friendship first, then courtship, then marriage. If you follow that process, then you too can be in a relationship that is God ordained because He created marriage, but it's also long sustaining because even though our friendship went for years, it didn't feel like it was years. Our marriage is going on 11 years. That doesn't feel like it's been that long either because we're still friends. I'm still having fun with my best friend. And I share in chapter 1 that when you share things with your friends, that is the way it should be. But too many people are sharing their body with strangers. Then you decide to make a commitment because you done tied your souls together. And now you think, well, let's just get married. It will fall apart. That's why for some of you that are in your second, third, or fourth marriage, and still walking through the same patterns, still walking through the same hurts, you do not have to do that. It's the friendship that sustains you, that keeps you. And so, are there any final comments you want to share with them about our friendship before we let them go?
If it's okay, let me just say this, and this is directed to everyone, but specifically ladies. Ladies, honor yourselves. There are a lot of guys out here, and Tanya touches on it in her book about the representative, and that's real. And as a man, was a male growing up, I got into lots of disagreements with my male friends because I didn't think the way that they thought in regards to ladies. And that's because of the mom that I had that raised me. My mother taught me to respect ladies, which side of the street to walk on, how to open doors, and the importance of it, and all those things. And so perhaps they didn't get the same lessons, or either they just fell into what society dictates a man is supposed to act like. Well, I was different. And so if you honor yourselves, that's the best thing that you can do, because when you become in a mode of trying to be what somebody else wants you to be, or what you think they want, or who you think is popular to get a guy, no, just be yourself. That's what is most natural for you. And again, if they can't accept you the way that you are, you don't need that person, and they don't deserve you. So ladies, please honor yourselves at all times, the way you carry yourself, the words you speak about yourself and to yourself, the way you dress yourself, everything. Just walk like the queen that you're. Keep your crown straight. That's what I'm trying to say. Keep your crown straight, and God will send you the king that He wants you to have, because He's got to prepare you for His son and His son for you.
Awesome. So with that, if you don't remember anything else that was shared with you today, here's the one thing I want you to know. Start off your relationships as friends. Everything else you are looking for will manifest from there. And if you're on Clubhouse, you can join me every Tuesday in the Winning and Wealth Club. We start our life lesson session off at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a conversation about mindsets. And then we move into the follow-up discussion from this podcast, Red Alert Diaries, at 7 p.m. And for those of you, the women that know that we have something in our soul that we need to birth, there's a special discussion that takes place at 8 p.m. in the Winning and Wealth Club on Clubhouse. I look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.